Hey, what's up guys? I'm Banana, and today we are back with another Destiny 2 upload. Sorry I haven't uploaded on here in a bit. I was too busy grinding out golf balls and playing the game to make any videos. So today's video is going to be a little bit different than what I've done on the channel, but it should be indicative of what is to come. So if you enjoy, be sure to smash that subscribe button as we are so close to 1,000 subscribers on this channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about difficulty in Destiny 2. A lot of YouTubers have talked about it, and it has been a huge topic in the game ever since the Deepstone Crypt's launch. And it definitely has come back up in conversation this week, and it has resurfaced this week because of the new Grandmaster Nightfall. The Nightfall this week is currently the Glassway, and I've definitely seen a bunch of people yelling on the internet about how impossible it is. I will admit it took me about like 7 hours of attempts with no cheeses to get this Nightfall done, and it is tough. Sniper Vandals one-shot, Overload Champs basically one-shot, the boss one-shots, and those Wyverns definitely one-shot. Every single enemy has an insane amount of health, and there's like 62 modifiers dragging you down, so this challenge is definitely very difficult, but the question here is it too difficult? I've seen Reddit posts and tweets talking about how this Nightfall is pushing the player too far and that the 30-minute timer before you are left with no respawns is too little, but let's look into the difficulty of this activity and how difficulty plays out in Destiny as a whole to see if this is really too hard. Spoiler alert, it's not. So I'm sure that you guys have heard this before, but Destiny is basically split into two different forms of difficulty: combat difficulty and mechanical difficulty. Mechanical difficulty is generally something that gets better with practice, as it is basically the understanding of how an encounter works and what you need to do to progress in it. This is consistently the main difficulty curve in day 1 raids, and once you learn how the fight works, it generally is just down to execution on these known mechanics. Combat difficulty basically boils down to how much damage enemies deal, how much health they have, and how good they can aim. Bungie has been trying to implement more combat difficulty into Destiny 2 raids with the contest modifier on day 1, but you mainly see this form of difficulty in higher level activities such as the Grandmaster Nightfall. These two forms of difficulty have been heavily criticized because everyone said that the Deepstone Crypt was way too easy on day 1. It was definitely not too hard of a raid in my opinion. I got through it on day 1, and it was definitely my first clear of a day 1 raid, so I don't know how to go there. The mechanical difficulty definitely wasn't that hard, so it came down to combat difficulty, and there was like none, because every enemy in there shot like stormtroopers that are blindfolded, and they just missed every shot. Naturally, a lot of the more high-end Destiny community members came out and said, hey, make harder stuff, and I think this Nightfall is an answer to that. I think the problem with strikes and assessing their difficulty is the fact that most strikes have little to no mechanical difficulty. This is because strikes are meant to be accessible by a much larger player base, and those players should be able to just LFG into a strike and complete it with no communication. This forces Bungie to basically put all the difficulty in these higher levels of strikes into champions and insanely lethal and tanky enemies. They can't just go and add mechanics to a strike after the fact to make it difficult, so they add loads and loads of one-shot machines. The problem with the Glassway, however, is that almost everything can one-shot you. Literally every enemy present in the boss can basically one-shot a Guardian if they're not being careful. Off the top of my head, there's like Wyverns, Hobgoblins, Minotaurs, the small boss, and the big boss that can down a Guardian, and I'd say that's why this strike is really annoying. The boss room is so hard, and it takes a while to get there because the rest of the strike is definitely difficult as well. So this strike has a lot of one-shot enemies, but is it too difficult? Honestly, from personal experience, I would say no. I played it for like 7 hours straight, as I've said, and I was annoyed at times, but I love the way that it actually forced me to change my loadout and change how I play, because usually I play with a shotgun, Ikelos, and a Lament, and I just sort of rush everything, just go kill them, but if you do that in a Grandmaster, you are going to get smacked. I was running a scout rifle with Divinity on this, and you will never see me running Divinity outside of Nightfalls. And I was also running things like Spoils of War and Divine Light just to keep myself charged with light and to keep my team just going. We had a lot of different loadouts, and I mean, seeing scout rifles in gameplay, I like it. I miss scout rifles being good, and you only see them getting used in Grandmaster strikes because of how hard they actually are. And you have to remember that this activity is like the pinnacle of all Destiny activities. It's the highest light required, coming in at 1300 power level, so I feel like it should be pretty hard. My team could usually enter the boss in around like 17 minutes, which gave us 13 minutes to fight the boss and still have the ability to revive. But it doesn't actually wipe you after those 30 minutes, so the people who are complaining there, they just can't survive, you know, they're just not good. In all seriousness, we didn't kill the boss within those 13 minutes on that run that we did actually complete it on, but we've just played without respawns, because if you don't die, then you can't wipe there, you know? So playing without respawns actually added a new challenge that I feel like hasn't been around in Destiny 2, and it was definitely around in Destiny 1 raids, so that is pretty cool. Completing this Nightfall was honestly almost as satisfying as completing the raid on day 1 for me, and I like having that from a weekly activity that is meant for like the best of the best players. If this was just something that everyone was supposed to do, sure, maybe it's too hard, but I feel like this is meant for the people who are trying to get the seal, they're trying to get Conqueror, and seals should be difficult, so this difficulty is nice. Overall, I'm just sort of confused as to why some players have come out and said they wanted more difficult activities, but then they're complaining that this is too hard and that it should be easier. Grandmaster Nightfalls are not for the faint of heart, and adding a new level of challenge to the endgame, it's Pog. It's always welcome to me. To put this into perspective of how much I've been doing Grandmasters, my first attempt at any Grandmaster at all was last week with Exodus Crash, and I did this one by accidentally loading in while trying to go into the 1280, doing it with 2 randoms, no microphone, and I had a sword equipped. This week's strike took me that much longer, like literally hours and so many attempts longer, and I was playing in a Discord call with my friend and a guy that we LFG'd for the whole time. We were the same team the whole time, and we couldn't beat it because it was way harder, and that made it more satisfying to me. Last thing I sort of want to touch on is that people were saying that this activity has like an artificial difficulty, and that's just such a dumb argument right there. They're saying that just because they're locking you under a light level, that's what's making it hard, but literally, if they didn't have light level and they just said, hey, this is a harder difficulty, no one would think anything of it. You look at old like Halo difficulties, and all the higher up ones were just having more health and doing more damage from the enemies and forcing you to run different loadouts. So that's what this is. Light level is the artificial thing here. Like, if that didn't exist and they just literally threw us into everything at a set difficulty, this would have no complaints, and it just wouldn't make sense. So Bungie just trying to give players that extra bit of challenge and a good fight by locking them below their max potential, it makes a lot of sense. I think that Destiny 2 had like a huge scare when it came to endgame difficulty of like day 1 raids when Deepstone Crypt came out. Like, I have tried day 1 for the past 3 raids before that. Like, I tried Last Wish. Actually, I didn't try Scourge, but I tried Last Wish, I tried Crown, and I tried Garden. And I could not complete any of those on day 1. And then you had thousands of people completing Deepstone Crypt on day 1. And that is sort of scary, because I feel like those were supposed to be the really difficult activities, and there was like no combat difficulty in there, which is one of the main problems. Like, you just couldn't die in most of the encounters. I remember trying to wipe on day 1 in the first encounter, and you literally had to kill yourself because the dregs were just not lethal enough. I think players asked for more combat difficulty, and we're beginning to see it manifest in Grandmaster Nightfalls. I think that the next Nightfalls could be hard as well. Like, you know, the Disgraced could be pretty difficult, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that comes. But I think Destiny just needed this difficulty spike, and I think the Glassway really did it well, and I'm all the way here for it. But that's pretty much going to be it for me talking about the current difficulty in Destiny 2. I really don't think that this strike is too bad. I think people are complaining over pretty much nothing. If you can't do it, maybe you weren't supposed to be able to do it, or maybe you just need to keep attempting it, because you can cheese it if you want, and if you don't want to cheese it, it is possible. It's really just like a strategy game, and it's just trying to survive in a situation where you're meant to be challenged, you're meant to not survive. But that's going to be all. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like the video and leave a comment down below on how you think the difficulty in Destiny 2 is. And thanks for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace out.